we cool and steady.
So you got everything under
We are
control then.
all about love, all about love. Yeah,
All
man.
right,
You
my
got
brothers.
them all
All
under
right, my
control, Mr.
brothers.
Chairman.
You ever
Okay,
see
my
me?
brothers. We live. We live. We live. We live.
Oh, sorry,
Good
sorry.
evening, good evening, people. Once again, we're huddled here to try to come to some understanding, discuss a few issues that we think is pertinent and certainly might be of interest to a few folks out there. I am G. Michael Reed. They've given me the lead as such. It's hoisted upon me, but I do my best to not let anybody down. My good friend Leonard Brackett is in the house. Good evening, Mr. Brackett.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
George Myvett is present.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Attended for say Radio Land by our old school.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
Good evening, everybody. I guess in electronic land.
Yeah, man. Who got siren to come out of them, boy?
One second.
I hope that's not me.
And I never me, officer. They make a throw me weed, boy. Anyway, yeah. So Brackett, what's going on? You here from Gregory? You man, come on.
My cousin, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, Mr.
no.
Mr.
Morrison.
Morrison?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard anything so far. Well,
yeah.
we've been communicating back and forward a couple of times, on the internet, but not particularly about the show itself.
Okay, all right. But anyway, well, listen, lots going on over there, boy. Where they going there and kill up on and most mass shootings.
But you know what's the daily news? You don't know that the daily occurrence?
No, I don't watch the
Nothing
daily news,
new.
boy. I don't
What's
watch.
your Bible?
Nothing new.
The man
News
ain't got
no
it.
come on
If
if you not got blood on it.
the left hand.
You don't 11 people don't get shot one time every day, though, my brother.
No, that's true. That's true.
That's and got 34 mass shootings in less than a month.
Yeah.
You got what 3 in about 4 days? Crazy, man.
Yeah,
I
could have been one of those victims because them Balewa going to shoot up them places and they shoot anything that moves or that they could see will look like a human being. You know? So you could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time and the bullet no name or number, and the way these people
that is sad part about it, because I think what happened to these people, they upset with society itself. They believe has done them wrong. I think what they don't understand is that the people in the killing are the same position like they most of the time. They themselves have been wrong and trying to get it. I hope we don't see that go worldwide, global. You know what I'm saying? Because you got copycats and everybody want to get in on it once it starts like that. Judge.
But G Mike, there's a variable that is almost unique to the United States: the freedom to arm the citizens and to carry. That is not common throughout civilized society. And so you will find out, as you have kind of mentioned, Mr. Chair, that the people in London have the same stresses where the people in New York have.
Mm-hmm.
We got the same stresses in Belize City and in Australia, they do. But the availability of guns is not there. And I want to be schooled by you, Mr. Chair, and Leonard, in the sense that I think that obviously the right to bear arms related to the early history of the United States, when they were conquering, they were going west, and they were going into hostile territory. But that time has passed.
But they're not that.
Their guns.
They're not that. Actually, the right to bear arms is in the event that you get a government that's oppressive and the people not happy with. That's an interesting part of that.
That is what some people say, Mr. Chairman, though that is not necessarily true either. Because long before, I think Mr. Morrison would probably be more in tune with this particular part of the discussion about the right to bearing the arms and so on. I've noticed that he has a different perspective than myself. But the bottom line, as far as I was trying to convey, is that when the Constitution was drafted, the purpose for which they were saying that they needed to have people be able to buy their own arms is because the government was so poor back then that they couldn't supply weapons and be ready to take on the British and the other different people that they had, the Indians and other people that they had to do during the conquest days, the conquest, not the independence days, the conquest. But when they wrote up the Constitution, they added that in because the Southern people actually wanted to be able to be in a position whereby they can keep their slaves under subjugation and they can have weapons to be able to, as a matter of fact, that's what they use as a pretext when they decided to separate from the rest of the United States and wanted to become their own independent country, because they had the ability to be able to furnish their own weapons under this guise of militia, a well-regulated militia. These people that are running around killing mass murderings and so on here in the States currently, they don't belong to any particular, I mean, some of them do. But they don't belong to any regulated militia that is looking out for the well-being of the country. Then they slaughter people right left and center. They don't kill a woman and they slaughter. It's a completely different paradigm. And sorry.
Let us look at the Second Amendment, though, because the purpose of the Second Amendment for the people to bear arms is for them, in the event that the government does not do what they can do, they have the right to abolish such a government.
No, sir. That's what I objected to you just now when you made that statement, because that is not true.
You get dogmatic, man. How can you prove it? Do you have something to point to? Do you have, because the U.S. Constitution is there.
Yes, sir. But the purpose at the time when that document was being drafted was not about trying to overthrow the government. They were just getting through overthrowing the British. They wanted to be able to have enough weapons to be able to sustain the legitimacy of their country and their government. It was not about them using weapons to overthrow their government.
That's not true.
No government can tolerate that kind of...
Hold on a second, man. Hold on a second.
That's not true.
Go ahead,
That's not true, because Jefferson in some comments made that we have the right to overthrow a government, the tyranny. He said if the tyranny of the government is such, then the people had a right to overthrow that government. So that's not true what you're saying. It's not fully documented in total detail, but in inferring that that's the only cause for the right to bear arms is totally misguided from what the founders of the Constitution had said in some references and in conversation and in newspaper and in other documents that they have made. Not in the Constitution.
Why did they put the term regulated militia?
That was part of it too.
That's part of what they were describing. I'm sorry.
That was part of it too. But to just drop it and say, oh, it's because it's not for just regulated militia, and the militia was only intended to
the people that used to make the weapons back in those days.
No, that's true. That's all true.
The people that used to make the weapons back in those days and do make them, even as of today did, are the ones that finance this concept of everybody have the right under the Second Amendment, and they spend millions of dollars with these politicians.
I'm not discarding that.
It's a major divide in the country as far as that perspective is concerned. Some people are on one side and some are on the other side, and they use the same constitution to try and validate both sides.
I'm not
but it has a cost. It has a their cost. There are consequences in terms of human lives and innocent lives. And I am wondering to what extent the nation as a whole realizes that it cannot continue like this. It seems to me, and I'm from the outside looking in, obviously, it seems to me that there are certain parties, not political parties, persons and groups it seems to me, the cities that are willing to really look at this way to say, you know what, there's a place for guns, and there are different types of guns, and it has to be brought under control.
You have the National Rifle Association, and they have a strong lobby. So this is what we have to deal with. I personally believe that I don't see a problem with a person owning a handgun for protection. Because if you're in your house and you hear one knives come on, somebody try to get in, you would want to have a gun in there. However, I don't see the need for an SLR, AK-15, any of them big high-power weapon. Again, even if you
automatic 50 calibers.
Well, I don't think they have 50 calibers. I don't.
Yes, they do. These militia guys that are out there practicing, you can't take away those weapons from them. Well, they are always thinking that they are in a position to outgun the government, and that's a ludicrous perspective to have. In today's modern society with modern
hold on.
and modern military capabilities.
Leonard, please drop on point and then allow one response, man, and then we move on, right? But you keep on and go on. Yeah. Sorry.
I believe you have a different from the chairman. I believe that you have a right to own any gun you want to own, because, like they said, it's not the gun that kill people. It is the people that kill the people that's there. The fact that you could shoot so many rounds in a minute or whatever is inconsequential to the right of ownership in my regard. I believe you have the right to own whatever type of weapon you want to own.
We covered this before, and you got an argument from George for sure. Go ahead, George.
Yes. I think that if you look at the numbers, and you're saying that you don't have the right to bear arms, but you can bear whatever weapon with whatever lethal capacity there is. I think is a argument when you look at the consequences, because somebody with a handgun might be able to take out, would be able to take out a lesser amount of people than some guy, yeah, maybe, than some guy with a bomb stock. There was this guy in Las Vegas that took out, I think, a couple hundred people. Not all dead, but so I think that
and he had three guns. He had 3 guns.
Yeah.
Right. I'm saying, but I'm also saying that you need to control the firepower. Whether one person has 100 pistols or not, you have to make sure that at the end of the day, it is the interest of society that is guarded. You cannot protect the right of somebody to go out and slaughter innocent people. You can't do it.
That's a good point.
It doesn't happen. It's kosher. It's not kosher in civilized society.
I think you have these guys.
Why do you think this doesn't happen in London?
Where I think they ought to have more access to more shooting galleries. I think because there are a lot of people walking around with guns with nobody to shoot and nowhere to shoot them, and that might be a problem because they're curious about the shooting of it. Now, I don't agree with you, Gregory, that they should have even those high power weapons if they want to. When you get something like that that's so dangerous, you need to show a reason why you would want to have such a weapon. Why do you believe a person would want to have such a high power weapon? Just because they want to satisfy some selfish desire?
But look at it this way. It is probably less than 0.01% of the people that does possess those type of weapon that does go out in the streets and create this type of mayhem. So it is not everyone that has that, or it's not even a slightest fraction of 1% of the people that own these guns that behave in that manner. So it tells you that there's something else going on, and it's not just possession of the weapons.
May I have something to say?
What?
May I say something right there at that point, Mr. Greg?
Yes, sir.
The reason why
I can't hear you, Leonard.
Mr. Brockett went off.
Hello. All right. Listen. Yeah. Well, see, and I have an issue with Leonard when he comes with the reason why is dogmatic when he stresses those points. Are you there? Are you back, Leonard?
Yes, sir. I'm hearing you.
Okay.
All right.
You're off. We didn't hear you
for gone for a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I was right here.
You were gone.
I was talking. But anyhow, okay. I was trying to make a point, right, which is very salient in this conversation as regards to how the United States of America, from different vantage points and from different political perspective and from different economic justification and from different societal stresses and strain and expectations. There are some people who espouse this idea, for example, who support the NRA vehemently with this concept that people can get just about any weapons and they are within the bounds of their constitutional right. to have them and to use them and do whatever they want with them. Of course, there should be a qualifier there. That is that when they do whatever they want to them, it shouldn't derogate from the rights of any other person because they have a gun, that they should be able to just use that gun to kill other people, and they should go to jail and not be killed themselves. The bottom line is that there are people who believe that the Constitution said that you should have the right to bear your arms because, for example, during the Civil War, when they had the Civil War, people had to help provide. The country didn't have, both sides that were warring didn't have their own military and their coffers from which they can get money to buy guns and things. So they depended on these big landlords and these other people that could buy guns to supply their own people in their community and in their states, and different states get together and work together and provide the necessary equipment to wage the war. The bottom line is that after that war was finished, there were people who were aggrieved for having lost that war. And they're in a state of mind, even of today that you and I this panel is having this discussion, they believe that the South shall rise. And they're hoping that they will be in a position. A lot of them are military retired persons, and they're hoping that someday when that opportunity comes up, which the 6th of January last year was just a trial run. So what these people are all about.
Leonard, okay, you're running on. You're running on. That is true. Okay. That is true. But you drift also because you said it was just to deal with the British. But then you went on to tell us it also had to do with
No, sorry.
Let me finish. You went on to say it also had to do with
If you believe that I was saying that, then I gave it the wrong impression because it was not just about the British. It was about providing the weapons to survive as a country.
Exactly.
And the government did not have the wherewithal to do that.
And then who were they fighting? They were fighting internally. They were fighting the government. So that proves the point. That the Constitution and
the Constitution was written long before they were having that revolution. The Constitution wasn't written after the revolution. The Constitution was written before the revolution, long before.
Exactly. I said the implementation.
That's not right.
I said the implementation.
That's what these people are trying to do.
It sounds to me like Mr. Brackett, he seemed to have the more rational argument to me. I don't know.
I researched these things, so that's why I know.
I don't think that any government would put itself at a disadvantage to be overthrown by its own citizens.
Not tolerant.
But history is live, and if some president said it back then, that doesn't mean, that it applies now.
Not only a president, a framer of the Constitution.
It's the Constitution.
That's even worse.
No, it's in the Constitution.
But George,
but he got pushed back to when he was advocating that because those things didn't become part of the law.
We're arguing the same thing now with this constitutional reform, where you're saying that the government is getting ready to allow themselves to lose some power. This is the same thing. The government itself, the government is the people, The government don't necessarily want a group of people up there. The government is the representatives of the people that govern the people. So the people governing themselves through their representatives. But they're saying, and the people are saying, and it makes sense to me, if you don't come with any strong arm tactics and want to be a dictator, like even Trump was trying to do, we have the right. We have the right.
Not
the right, the duty to abolish that government.
Mr. Chairman, for a clearer definition of what you said just now, the people are the government.
I'm asking a question.
The people that we class, or we always say are our government, are just the caretaker of our government. We, the people, are the government.
That's what we said.
That's why regardless of who is running the government, what group is running the government, it is still the government. It is one government we have being run by different groups of people that we appoint or elect.
But then the government could also go wrong and become a totalitarian.
The government is an institution. The government is an institution elected by the people to basically deliver service that so the government and the people different things.
Yes, but that's a conflation, Mr.
The government is an institution.
That's what I'm trying to point out.
There's
a need for clarity there, sir.
The government is not the people.
We have this concept that when we say the government,
because
we're referring to the elected officials, as you are stating right now. That is a concept that we have widely held in belief. And in many other places, that people say the government, and when they refer to the government, they're referring to those elected people. Those are the caretaker of our governance.
You know, we have to give everybody a chance to get into this conversation. I understand you guys have valid points and you want to enforce it, but we all have to join this conversation. I believe the government is the people, but the government could become totalitarian because it represents the people, and it could change. And we saw that with what happened on January 6th. We saw that with the presidency of the last president, where the government was radically shifting. And some people are in favor of a powerful, strong president, but it is not the rule of the Constitution. And the reason some people are in favor of that is because they feel that for them, as the majority or ownership of this country, they feel they are now being sidelined with the immigration policies that being adopted by subsequent Democratic government and by previous Republican government.
The unfortunate thing, Gregory, is that a lot of people. Hold on, George. George, the unfortunate thing is a lot of people do not understand what you're saying. But the fact of the matter is that the government is run by a consensus, and the people, the majority of the people are the ones who dictate the policies as such. Go ahead, George.
No. I was making the point that mathematically, if you look at it from a mathematical standpoint, the government has two functions. It basically needs to deliver what it is set there to do, the institution of government, and you know the branches in the United States, right. And it has the responsibility to deliver through what I am calling the public service here in Belize, but you guys have other names for it, and it operates at the federal, the state, the county, at various levels. So you can't say that the government is the people. The government should represent the will of the people. But if you are saying that the government is the people, and you use the argument, well, the people could overthrow the government, you're saying that the people can overthrow themselves. You realize
exactly.
That is what we're saying. That is exactly what we're saying.
That's exactly because the government at any point is just representative. But they do. But you see it every time.
That would be true depending on the system of governance, sir. That's the difference between a republic.
Let us bring this thing.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry about that.
Let us bring this down to a family setting, because basically there's some microcosm of that. There's a family, whatever. Easy for you to say.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman. The point
is that the government represents the same type of structure that you find in a family. So in a family, you as the head of the home, you, George, if you don't act right, the family can come together and say, you know what, you can't be here again, because even though you are such a major part of the family, I mean, and the same thing. So the government is there.
Mr. Chairman, try that in a Muslim family and see how that work out for you.
Well,
but even so, Mike, I'm saying that if you look at the family, for example, I am the head of my household. My wife is a traditionalist, and so she recognized me as the head of the household. The people in my family are my wife and my children, and I have an extended family here. If they are dissatisfied with the way I am running things as the government, I am setting the rules and I am implementing them, they can remove me.
They can or they can't?
I am as an institution.
They can't.
They can or they can't. Hold on. Did you say that, my judge, did you say they can? Did you say they can or they cannot remove you?
They can.
Okay.
And I'm trying to make the distinction between institutions and people.
Right.
I am the institution that delivers service to my family and protection to my family.
Correct.
Yeah. But I should represent the will of the people.
Yes.
But I am not the people.
But what if you don't?
If I'm not representing the will of the people, then the people can remove me
Exactly.
as an
And
institution.
where do
And
you
that's
come
what
from?
we're saying. That's
Where
what
do you?
we're saying.
Yes,
They
yes.
can't do that in Belize until every 5 years.
No,
No,
they
that's not
can't.
true. That's
They
not
can.
true.
They can if they
Of
they
course they
can.
can.
We have seen in Belize
Yeah,
where they forced
when
elections.
did we ever have a revolution in Belize?
Not revolution. We have
That
seen.
doesn't matter.
No. We have seen in Belize where elections were forced by the behavior of the people in the streets.
Correct. Exactly.
We have seen that.
Exactly.
We have seen that.
Exactly.
So it works. It
They
works.
can't, actually, it's a consensus that runs everything, really.
Yeah.
Once the majority says something, majority does rule, especially in that. But we're straying away from the point. Because the point
Not
is
in the first past
basically
the post system, sir. Our governance system is set up differently than the perspective you're currently conveying. Because we have a democracy,
we have a
parliamentary democracy where the power resides in the hands of the members of parliament, as you rightly stated earlier, whom we elect.
so.
But if they don't have a continuous consensus, we have seen where they have
As of right
decided.
now.
Well, not right now. Right now, the government is very popular. Right now, the PUP government is very popular. In fact, they could win another term easily if they were to call election tomorrow. There's no opposition available right now. So you have made the point.
That might break your heart, but it's true, Brackett.
You see, I
wouldn't have that debate here, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I look on this thing and I'm not sure if you could see it. But remember
I
when
can't
we
see
did
it.
standard 6? Sorry. Remember when we did standard 6 and they did sets and subsets? All right. What I have here, and I shall bring out a magic marker. This pen is describing this big circle. Let's see why there. This big circle is representing. Let's see why.
I'm right here.
We need to see Mr. Margaret on the big screen.
You want to put
the big frame for Mr. Margaret, make you see what they do.
All right.
All right. So a country is an entity. The country is really the universal set. In a country, there are various entities. On the top there, you have resources.
Tell me what I don't know.
You have people.
Right. You're stating the obvious. And
No.
I find
tell me what I don't know.
But all right, that is what I'm getting to. I am trying to make the distinction that you guys keep saying that the government is the people. It is not.
The government is not the people. The government is represented.
Where do they come from? Where do the government?
Come on now.
The government is elected from among the people. You see this?
Right.
You see this little box here? It is not the people. The government is an institution that delivers public service, delivers protection to the state, etc. It is not the people.
George,
come on now.
You're splitting hairs. You're splitting hairs, really.
Splitting hairs. I'm making an important.
The government is a representative of the people. The government
I don't want you guys to run away with the fact that the government is not the people.
Hold on.
What we call our government in Belize are just the administrators on behalf of the people. We elect them and put them in power to manage.
It's the same thing. What's the
difference?
difference?
What's nonsense?
What's the difference? Come on.
It's an institution.
It is an institution.
Yes. Nobody's arguing that.
Don't I believe we ministers and pretend like they're a boss over the country or they're a guard over the country or whatever. But in truth,
are you crazy? Are you crazy? Look at Trump. Did not Trump act as he was boss over that country? What do you mean in Belize? Only in Belize they act as if they're a boss. The politicians always act as if they're bosses.
Belize have a different system than America, my brother.
My boy, it's the same thing. There's basically there are people representing the people. People representing the people. What's the difference?
Yes, on that part, yes, but not on the part that you was trying to say that you're trying to conflate. Belize is not America and they don't have the same system of governance.
We know that.
Remember to parse those differences.
Yes. One's a republic, one's one.
There are different rules and possibilities.
Parliamentary.
You have to understand the difference.
Come on, guys.
Otherwise, you conflate.
That doesn't make sense at all. That doesn't make sense. In a parliamentary,
whether it's parliamentary, Republican, communist, whatever it is, it's an institution that is there to run the affairs of the state.
We know that.
What are you
hopefully
saying?
according to the will of the people.
What are you
Not
saying?
hopefully. It is their duty. When they don't, it is our responsibility to remove them.
Exactly.
And if we can't remove them by through election protest, it is our
We have a typical example going on right now in this country of the United States, right? Where you have the Democrats in possession of the House and the Senate, and the Republicans in possession of the House of Representatives. And those three institutions, as per the way you guys are describing it, would constitute our government. I'm saying those people are caretakers. They could come from whichever party they want.
Oh man!
Which is a different system here in America than it is in Belize.
It's
only the first past the post take the majority and run on with managing the country on behalf of the people. But at the end of the day, it is still a government of the people.
Come on, stop talking running on. Come on.
Yes, it's getting ridiculous.
I don't agree with you, Mr. Brackett. This is historical. I have to disagree with you on this point, and this might be historical. Let me use an analogy that you will agree with me. You go to the bus station here in Belize City, and you jump on a Belizean Queen. I know that public transportation for so long. I use Belizean Queen. When you get on a Belizean Queen, you know how that bus will reach Bangapan? It will reach by virtue of the driver. Consider the driver is the government of that bus. Consider the driver is the government. The people have invested, and they are expecting that the bus will travel west to Belmopan. All right? And so in that context, the people are like the nation. The passengers are like the nation.
And what if you have a drunken driver? What if you have a drunken driver? Could you remove him?
Or somebody's driving a rapid.
Could you remove him?
It needs to be replaced.
But that's what we're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
The people don't want the driver want to
That's exactly my point, Mr.
guys. And that's the rationale, George, behind what we're saying. Because even if it means you haul a gun and remove that man forcefully, you have a duty, not only a right, a duty to do so. And that's why in the Constitution of the United States, they allow you to bear arms in the event that the people
not for that
need
purpose,
to
though,
do
Mr.
that.
Mr.
That
Chairman.
is one of the purposes, not the only purposes. There are lots of different aspects to it. Nobody's saying
the
that
Americans among themselves have been debating these points for aeons, you know?
Right. So you
from
know
a legal perspective as well. So
I think we've strayed.
I just give up at that point.
We have strayed too far from it, because the point that what we're getting at actually is the guns, the right to bear guns, what type of guns one should bear, and we have different views on that. I believe that people should be able to have guns for personal protection, but not the kind of high-powered, deadly machines of destruction.
There's a question. There's a question from C-Smoke. It says, "Are we discussing the diaspora?" I guess somebody wasn't in on the first part of the conversation, so they're just hearing these comments that we're currently making.
No, but
that's a valid point. We haven't gotten into the diaspora.
Well, we got the diaspora that matter, and we ended the last week's show on a touch on the diaspora. We're gonna have to do a full show on the diaspora at some point, where probably all of us could give our views for a few minutes and then discuss it thereafter. Hopefully the guys out there, Stuart Vernon said the chairman shirt official, no? Yes, you like it, right? All right, wonderful. But we're going, because the purpose, in fact, the initial purpose of us being here, of course, was to try to get the diaspora together with itself, the Belizeans at home together with themselves, and then us together with each other. That one gargantuan task. I know that it won't be easy, and we probably won't succeed at it, but we owe it to ourselves and to our country to give it a try. So that's where we're going from that. We got
Mr. Chairman. May I say something, sir? Right on that same, piggybacking on what you're saying there just now. A lot of people in Belize are of this opinion that the PUDP constitute what has governed us from Independence Day till today. And they have seen no proper governance, or at least not the kind of governance that the people would have hoped we would have had after 40 odd years of independence. So my question is, if the PUDP, as our government, has not given us the governance that we desire, where then do we go? Or, you know, I mean, is somebody going to propose that we overthrow the present system of governance? Are we going to commit what you call sedition and just take over the country by whatever means necessary, either by a consensus of the people?
But we don't see
by somebody deciding, okay, well, maybe some of the military people get together and decide, you know what, we want to overthrow this government because
and then
blah,
what?
blah, blah, you know?
And then what?
We don't see leadership from the military.
I'm being provocative. I'm throwing out a question out there for people to chew on, you know? I mean, in terms of where do we go from here? In terms of the better governance that we're hoping for.
Any point, man. Any point, make Gregory guys say.
Somebody else could go ahead and talk.
Yeah. The problem I see is that in Belize, we seem to lack a cohesive thinking of how leadership and what is desired for the country. I think that somehow we need to develop ourselves to have organizations, NGOs, or whatever that start setting out agenda for the country, and it needs to be apolitical. It needs to say, in this time frame of 10 years, this is what we need to accomplish. In 25 years, this is what we need. And from that, it starts giving us a formulation of what ideas we need to start developing on. Because right now, people are flocking either one way to politics, and the country is just a pariah state in terms of how the politics is being treated. Because at one point, people are happy when PUP is in, then people are happy when UDP is in, and we're not getting any movement, like you say, from the PUP, UDP. And somehow we need to come with a group of people, and I think it will only happen through like a think tank and development of some independent sort of agency that start looking at these. I don't know, it needs money, so it has to be from someone that has some money, that has a goodwill and want to step aside, but just support in some way the development of the country. And that's my thought on it.
I think it'll be more than that. I mean, that's almost to simplify it, because you could have all the money. We need a mindset from the people. First of all, I used to always say when I was representing the police that if we want better police officers, we need to start raising better children. The same holds true for politicians. If we want a better government, better leaders, we need to have our children growing up with a proper mindset to not just want the little bit that you can get. Because for the most part, elections, I believe, are bought, not won. There's very little principle involved. They're not even, politicians don't even have to make a speech. And I wrote an article about that the other day. The only country where I see where a politician does not have to get up and speak, does not even have to know how to speak, and will get elected as long as he has a few dollars to pay. Many believe that John Saliva has a chance in Belmopan because he starts out with 400 votes already paid for. And the matter is, how many more can he buy? That is sad. Another part of it is that we need a fourth estate that plays the role that they're supposed to play. We have a government that's the biggest employer and the biggest advertiser in the media. So once they draw their advertising dollar, the media falls. So they have to then play dance to the tune that the piper is playing. And it's unfortunate.
A typical example was our last, Mr. Chairman, a typical example was our last referendum. 4 weeks going to the ending of that referendum, the government was in the dumpster as far as the numbers were concerned. And within the last 4 weeks of that election, I would say within the last 3 weeks of the election, you know, they were able to prevail. I mean, all of that is now history, right?
But how did the referendum come in there?
No, I was just saying as a when you made reference to the government paying to these media houses who should be our fourth estate, money for advertisement and whatever else not, I was trying to piggyback that and say to you that that is exactly what happened during the last referendum. The government had money that was coming from outside, as well as money that they use out of our own budget at home
you
to
mean
finance their
referendum?
campaign
Let's get it clear,
and
man.
suborn the media houses.
Make it clear. You're talking about the yes referendum. They go to the ICJ referendum.
The ICJ,
Yes, sir.
The ICJ referendum.
first. That is what they're talking about.
Mr. Margaret, could you speak to
But-
that a little bit for us, sir?
But what are you saying? Because I voted
It's
yes.
the ICJ first.
Wait, Mr. Chairman.
It
Mr.
was a
Chairman, give the man a
mockery.
shot.
It was a mockery of the
Give
democratic
the man a shot.
process. And I have
because
to
it
agree
didn't
with
because it didn't go
I
the
have
way
to agree
the
with
way
the chairman.
Hi, Mr.
I
Chairman,
have to
please,
because
agree
it
with
sir.
didn't go the way you guys wanted it
Give
to
him
go.
autonomous sometime, man. Give the man a shot.
No, it has
Let
nothing
the
to
man
do
finish
with that.
explain himself.
I have to agree with the chairman. I have to agree with the chairman that it was a mockery of democracy. Those people that
No, you're agreeing with Leonard Brackett. Hold on.
I'm agreeing with you.
You're not agreeing with me. You're not agreeing with me.
I'm
No,
agreeing with
not
you.
with that. Not with that.
I'm agreeing
He's
with
talking
you
about
that
where
democracy has been made a mockery of in relation to the ICJ referendum. So you're objecting to the fact that I'm agreeing with you.
No, you're not
You
agreeing with
realize
me.
that
No,
you're objecting to the fact
No,
that I'm
yeah,
agreeing with
we
you
held a referendum.
because the ICJ was
Hold
bought
up,
and
hold
paid
up.
for.
Did we
Was bought and
hold
paid
a referendum?
by those
So,
forces that
the
believe
only-
that these should be a part of Guatemala?
But I didn't vote.
Yes, sir.
I
sorry.
didn't vote yes to the ICJ because of I was paid or because there was any money out there for me. I didn't do that. I stood on a strong principle
Mr. Chairman,
that I felt it was time for
Sir,
us to go and put
but
this
sir,
thing behind
Mr.
us.
Chairman, didn't you just describe what happens during the election,
Yes,
the
I
regular
did.
elections?
Yes, I did.
Is
It
that
happens
that
every
fact what you
election.
think? Oh, you think that never happened in the
Not to
the,
not to the degree that it swayed it one way or the other. I don't think. I think it was a proper way to go.
that was only one aspect, sir.
I think that the chairman suffers from selective amnesia. He feels that certain things are relevant when it suits him, but when it doesn't.
Okay, I'll take you.
That
take that.
referendum was paid for. It was paid for by the United States government and by other parties that are pulling the strings of the then government of Belize and the opposition.
So would the whatever jurisdiction UNCA has, whatever financing we get to support UNCA will also come from the United States and the UN and Europe.
So do you think we should have UNCA?
It wouldn't be coming only from the United States because it will come from the United Nations.
It has its
The United Nations is all the countries of the world put together.
It's what?
It's a completely different setup.
Come on. You know.
It's unfortunate that we keep conflating these things.
Who makes the biggest contribution by far to the United Nations?
Correct.
That is not the point.
Money is money. It's
administrative,
but if
there
you
are
don't
administrative process and procedures that we're supposed to be talking about as well. Not just the money.
Every referendum has to be funded. Every election has to be funded. There has to be some. The whole logistics of it costs money. So if you're saying it was funded by outside, did I make a joke there?
But Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir, you did. That's why I said that.
It's irrelevant.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to be disrespectful.
You were talking about who funded
democracy. And what we have in Belize is not.
There were people who felt
that is what you said, sir.
There were people who felt that we needed to go to make a decision on this matter, so they gave funding for the referendum to be held. I mean, the referendum was held.
They've been doing that for the 13th proposal. They've been doing that for the 17th proposal. They've been funding us. For the heads of agreement, they've been funding us. All through the process, they've been funding us.
No. But
they keep funding us until they get their way. I don't see a problem with that. I see.
I want to propose, Mr. Chair, that a fair amount of what happened with the ICJ referendum reflected the geopolitics of the United States and Great Britain. Why am I saying this? If you look at the Webster proposal and you look at the heads of agreement, they're basically saying that Belize will become a client state of Guatemala. Read it.
Mm-hmm.
These are the entities that funded
Mr. President said that he read it
funded it to the
2 times and didn't understand
They
it.
funded it to the extent that there was a massive
But
media
Mr.
campaign.
You're going political. You're going political
no,
right
I'm
now.
not going. Well, I am going political, but I am going policy political.
No,
I am
no,
saying
you're going
that
partisan.
policy
You're
of
going
the
partisan political. You're going partisan.
I am not
political.
partisan. I am not partisan, Mr. Chair. I am suggesting to you that yes, monies came, but who did it come from? Then you should ask the question: what is the best
money's always come. Money's always come. Money's always come.
But they requested money to finance that campaign, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Let's keep things in context. Let's keep things in context.
Listen,
I wrote the Prime Minister a letter accusing them of accepting money to educate we people,
and
they never educate the people. They spend the money on shenanigans, and at the end of the day, the uninformed plebiscite.
Hold on a second.
Just follow the parties.
When did the Guatemala claim start? Way back in hold up. Way back, 1942, actually, right?
Long before that.
Long before that. You mean the Belizean people had no responsibility to educate themselves at any point in this? They had
so
to
the Belizean people to be faulted for the shenanigan government that we have.
Yes, so they vote them in too.
Come on, Mr. Chairman.
What?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Anyhow, shut up. I get emotional over that because.
But take you shut up, man. If you say shut up. Hold up. Go ahead, John. What you say?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Have you heard about the White Book? What is the
tell
White
us
Book, sir?
Tell me about the White Book.
The White Book in 1938. In 1938, the government of Guatemala decided that they will carry on a full court press to inform their public that Belize is theirs, and they printed 6,000 copies of what is called the White Book, and the White Book justifies why Belize is for Guatemala, and the average Guatemalan, average Guatemalan to this day are operating on the concept of the White Book, which has been reproduced in the millions.
Not only the average Guatemalan, you too. The average Guatemalan and you and some other people in Belize. Yes, you.
Mr. Chairman, you are guilty. You are guilty, Mr. Chairman. You are guilty of sedition.
No, man, you are. I'm the one that's with Belize here. You are the ones that's saying Belize is for Guatemala. You continue to promote Guatemala's agenda. Why? Why? Why you? But everything you have said, everything you have said,
has miseducated you.
Everything that you have said regarding this matter has been in Guatemala's favor. You even have said that you believe that Guatemala will take. No, the two things that you're talking about, Hezam Agreement and Webster's proposal, never came into being.
Yes,
never. It did not come into being.
Why didn't it come into being? Why? Why didn't
because
it come
they weren't signed into being.
It's not coming into being.
Judge Price never meant to sign any of those. What are you doing?
Sir,
Mr. Chairman.
Sir,
May I say something, sir?
Mr. Mike.
You want to say it anyway? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, the reason
you said that the thing never came into existence.
The reason
why did the House of Representatives voted for the Maritime Areas Act when that was a part of that same issue? You can't conflate and get away with that. I have to point it out to you.
Hold on. Did you know that as a consequence of that, the president of Guatemala recognized Belize as an independent nation?
That was also a bogus situation.
And they went to the Supreme Court in Guatemala, and the Supreme Court brought a verdict that yes, he had a right to do that, and that is
he was the president.
All right.
He authorized to do that by the Constitution. So, but that was a bogus thing. He didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Oh, I mean,
which was to fully recognize the independence of Belize. All the man said was Belize have a right, an inalienable right to exist. That's all he said.
So what
and
is
for
that?
They gave him the Maritime Areas Act, signed, sealed, and delivered.
What was the Maritime Areas all about? Do you know, Mr. Brackett? In a nutshell, no one whole long. Oh man. What does that? What is that? Is that
Chairman?
Yes.
Why would you persist in asking me that kind of question when you know that many are things why on a daily basis I advocate, sir?
Advocate what?
You are implying or insinuating that maybe I don't know anything about what I'm trying to talk about or
I'm saying
advocate about.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
I'm
you don't
surprised
know
that you're
everything.
asking such a question.
You don't know everything, and everything that you're saying.
No, I don't know everything, but what I talk on is what I know.
No, but you talk on everything.
Well, that bothers you, I presume. But anyway, I can't do nothing about that.
It does annoy me at times, but it doesn't bother me. Listen to me. Maritime's area, they were wanted to give Guatemala an access to the high seas. Is that correct? Am I right so far?
Yes.
And that there was that Honduras had to give a little bit, and Belize had to give a section, and then they allowed a
Did Honduras give
area.
anything, Mr. Chairman? Did Honduras give up anything?
Didn't they give them access?
Same thing that Belize did. The same thing that Belize did. Well, did Belize give anything? Did Belize give anything, Mr. Brackett?
Well, Belize
yes, sir.
did give.
Our House of Assent, our House signed, sealed, and delivered the Maritime Areas Act as an agreement.
Yeah.
And in return,
on behalf of the people of Belize,
and in return,
the people who didn't have a say in that matter, and according to the Constitution, should have had a say.
But why would Belize not want to allow that if it's a matter of securing peace?
It is not that they would not have allowed or tried to work out something, but the way the House went about it and the government at the day went about it, including the assistance of the opposition went about it,
because
was totally a fabricated process.
It was done
that matter should have gone to the public.
Yes, it should have resulted in a referendum.
That's what the Constitution required.
Yeah.
And they pretended like, because nobody should have known that, they just did what they wanted to do anyhow because the power was vested in them, according to them. Yeah. That was a violation of our Constitution.
It was.
Mr.
I agree with you.
I wanted some clarification. Are you suggesting that the Maritime Areas Act would have infringed on the ability of the government of Guatemala to access the high seas from the Caribbean side? Is that what you're suggesting?
The access to the high seas are different things. It's an international obligation, Mr. Margaret.
Chairman, a question. On Sunday, I'll be on Yaya's show. No, on Sunday, I'll be on Yaya's show to explain all of this. But the controversy essentially came because we were saying that this process should be guided by the United Nations Law of the Sea Convention. And the Law of the Sea Convention gives both Guatemala and Belize the right to claim a median line.
Mm-hmm. And
what the controversy came in because Guatemala wanted to claim right up to beyond the median line, right up to 1 mile outside of Ranguana Keys.
I believe it was
consistent, which is not consistent with the United Nations Law of the Sea Convention.
I believe it was Rufus X that said, and hold on, let me finish this point. I believe it was Rufus X that said, even a drunken cowboy knows when to get off of a dead horse. I find you guys are beating 2 dead horses. Because first of all, the referendum was done, and we are going to the ICJ, and the Maritime Areas Act signed into law. Those are dead horses.
Can I make news on the program tonight? Honduras
chairman say
owns Puerto Barrios and all the lands between Puerto Barrios and the Honduras line border. Guatemala had no right to try and claim waterway beyond Puerto Barrios, as if Puerto Barrios was their territory. In other words, to claim the water that would give them access through Matia de Galvez, which is just below Puerto Barrios, out to the ocean at that point. They would have been able to claim under the international rules of the law of the sea, under the United Nations, rights coming out of Livingston, which was just a sliver of a piece of land. But that was not enough for their claim, because they had an outstanding claim that they were hoping to get the southern part of Belize as a country. And therefore, their claim would have been able to be expanded through the United Nations if they were successful with that.
Who are you talking about?
Guatemala.
I am trying to understand. I'm trying to understand why the chairman.
We're talking about the Maritime Areas Act and its implementation, and the signed and delivered agreement. When in fact Honduras didn't feel that they're part of what would have become their obligation, and why they did not fulfill that is because Guatemala was trying to play hardball with them when they had actually rented Puerto Barrios to Guatemala for 100 years. And after the 100 years was finished, Guatemala is refusing to turn back their territory to them. Therefore, Honduras would have the right to claim from Puerto Barrios as their median line all the way to what the current Honduras borderline is with what Guatemala is stipulating as being Guatemalan territory, which is actually Honduran territory. Please learn and understand these things before we get into this discussion, and then we'll be able to serve better by giving proper information to the general public.
Thanks for the lecture.
We are locking ourselves into we believe Maritime Areas Act situation, and it's overlapping with other facts. Just like how right now they're saying that Honduras is claiming some of we keys, is because they want to claim the rest of that territorial water that goes out beyond Puerto Barrios.
They're claiming Zapadilla Keys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they can claim the Puerto Barrios as their land, which actually had belonged to them until they leased it to Guatemala. If Guatemala had given it back to them, they would have been the one having the right to put forward that claim that we believe now are trying to get to the United Nations for the United Nations, not the United Nations, the ICJ, to so-called try to resolve that. We should not be entertaining those kind of shenanigans, I'm saying.
You guys have some comments you got to address.
I'm trying to...
Hello? You got some comments?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me read this. Does Guatemala have a port on the Caribbean side? Why did we have give them access? They have the Pacific.
Yes. They don't have Puerto Barrios as theirs. Remember what I just stipulated?
No, man. Listen, Mr.
They
Brackett,
do have Livingston,
Mr. Brackett,
which is just a slip.
Mr. Brackett, may I say something? I am impressed with your knowledge of history and geography and all of that, but it doesn't pertain to the points that we are making. It just away from the argument, man. It just murky the water and convolute the whole issue, man. But no, does Guatemala have a port on the Caribbean side? Does anybody know about that? Why did we give them access when they have the Pacific? Can you answer that, George?
Yes, I think the point being made by Mr. Brackett is a very valid point. But a part of they do have territory on the Atlantic side, as Mr. Brackett is saying, although it's a sliver. But within the context of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, there's something called innocent passage. And so allowances should be made for innocent passage, which means merchant shipping minus any military operations.
Which is the rationale behind the Maritime Zero Act, right? Which was the rationale behind the Maritime Zero Act? All right. Well, Mr. Brackett is saying no.
It was. It was. It was twofold, though, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Morrison.
I just wanted to make this point. It was twofold, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead. One was to give. Go ahead.
Remember, Mr. Chair, that when we declared the Maritime Areas Act, two things happened. We expanded from a territorial sea of 3 nautical miles to 12 nautical miles. Also, what has happened is what we call the baseline migrated from the main Barrier Reef out to the outer atolls. And so Belize now basically has as much sea, I'm calling it jurisdictional sea, as it does land. So when you ask people, how big Belize 8867? I say, no, not really. 8867 is the land space. But there's also the marine jurisdiction, which is of an equivalent size as we speak. So one of the motives was obviously to basically get more territory.
So we always had
some countries claim 200 miles, while others claiming 12 miles or 3 miles.
Let Greg say something for a while, because he's been
we always had that territory, that sea territory under the Convention of the Sea. So that's not new. We weren't given anything. We always had that sea territory. And the other thing we lost when we signed that Maritime Area Act was that we changed. We always had that. We always had that the right to that territorial sea under the convention.
No, you didn't.
Of course we did. Guatemala didn't give us that.
All countries
come on,
that right.
Come on.
It was just a matter of working out the logistics.
Exactly. Guatemala did not give us
our
maritime. But the other thing is we also lost territory, or because our borders then became what they call it now, an adjacency zone. We had a clearly defined border before the Maritime Area Act, which then
those are two different things, sir. Mr.
I don't think those
are two different things. Don't mix them up, sir.
I didn't think they came together.
Okay.
I don't think those came together.
Okay.
The point is taken, but they are two different things.
But
I agree. But they were signed in the same
in Greg's defense, though. Yeah, I think in Greg's defense, I asked the former foreign minister, as ludicrous as he gets from time to time, how is it that Guatemala is claiming some of the keys in the south when they in fact has, as Mr. Brackett has said, just a sliver of land? You know what the foreign minister said to me? He said, Mr. Mayavet, but if the Western adjacency zone, he never used that. But if we haven't established, this is what he said, if we haven't established, if it is still disputed, then they have as much right as we. As
the man was giving Senility a bad name.
This is coming from the foreign minister. Anything that
he was giving Senility a bad name.
Official policy. It's frightening. And you're going to court with that. It's frightening.
It's crazy.
Yes.
They were feeding and festing the man in Guatemala. Every trip he made, they were being nice to him. And he felt that those people were being nice to him in order to be nice to us as a country.
See, you're showing a lot of assumptions, man. That you don't.
That's not assumption, sir. I told that to him in his face, okay?
You telling him
that know that what I was telling him was a fact.
You telling him that does not make it a truth. You just your opinion.
Okay. Since you're going there, I want to tell you, we don't have official government agency. We're looking to these guys and looking to our international affairs, but we do have people who are concerned and interested in those issues and do that kind of like work for our country, okay?
Okay, so in the future,
I'll tell you something what we know, because you don't know that we know.
Okay.
That not means that we don't know.
Okay, but then again,
maybe I shouldn't say nothing. I just keep my mouth crap.
Okay, but
Mr.
fellas, we want to know, why don't we invite Mr. Wilmer here?
But what topic will we cover then?
I don't know.
The same topic I think they must be interested in.
And how would that relate to the diaspora? Because I have
no. They're talking about the Maritime Areas Act and the waterways down south.
Yeah, but again, that one dead horse, man. What are you going to do?
It's not a dead horse, Mr. Chairman. Please don't go there.
I mean, go where?
About that being a dead horse.
What is it? Are you going to bring it back again? Are you going to undo it? Are you going to repeal that act?
Sir, aren't we at the United Nations? Aren't we at the ICJ right now, sir?
Right.
Do you understand the consequences of us having a ruling from the ICJ?
I think
now you're going to the ICJ to ask the ICJ to find a territory.
Come on, man.
Ask the ICJ what?
Steed. It's not a dead horse.
What are we going to ask? We are going to the ICJ.
To the ICJ.
To do what? To ask them what?
The Maritime Areas Act is also up for question. We are going to the ICJ to ask them
the whole territory
to define our territory if we have any. Yeah.
The whole territory.
That is
I think Wilmer here could contribute.
People don't really understand where they go on. That's the problem.
I think Wilmer here could contribute a lot. He's right there on the front line, fighting a battle. Sometimes we see it open when he has to risk everything with confronting Guatemalan boats on the sea. You never know when somebody will get trigger happy and some accident or unintended consequence happen. So I think he could contribute a lot in
and we are not aggressing these people. They are the one aggressing us.
Okay. Now, where do we go from here? We're going to the ICJ, right?
We're there already.
We're there already.
Yeah.
Now, what then? So, what do we do? Continue to fight with each other whether we should go or not? Does that make any sense? Really? That's my question.
No, we are not arguing about whether we should go, Mr. Chairman. Please.
What are we arguing about?
You keep conflating the point.
My boy, you point that out doesn't mean anything. You're so condescending most of the time, man.
Right.
But go ahead.
Right.
What do you say? It's all right. It's all right then. Next, go ahead. Yeah, George, what do you say?
But Mr. Chair, if we are going to the ICJ, that does not stop us asking the hard questions. That does not stop us from evaluating.
To what avail? To what avail do we ask the questions? Will that help our case any?
Because education continues. Our people need to know what they are up against.
Education for what? What are we? There are only two things I see we could do. We could win or we could lose. No, what if we win? We fine. If we lose, what do we do? But this bickering. Yes, but that's not what you're saying. That's not what your argument is about. What do we do? Do we stack arms in caves and fight?
Mr. Chairman, we should have been having these kind of discussions long before the referendum ever happened, and they never allowed it to happen.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go for that.
There are two things, Mr. Chairman. You have to evaluate your risk of whether you will win or lose. Either way, your population needs to be informed on what your chances are. One, there's something called contingency planning. Just shoot in case you lose. You need to know whether you want to lose.
You know what?
Well, I don't want any planning in case
have an ironclad case.
That's the point. We have to win. Now, if the only planning you could plan in case you lose is that we will fight, or we will give up. Which one do you want to do? Which would you? What else can we do, George? No. Make it simple, George. What else can we do?
Mr. Chair,
what else can we do?
What you can do is to say, go ahead.
Can we appeal it? Can we appeal this decision?
Zero.
Right. So we only got two. We only have two options. So we got two options: win or lose. If we win, we are right. If we lose, what do we do?
Well, if you
there's a thing called fortitude.
Fortitude.
We
all move to Belize City.
No, but you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me what you think will happen. You know to tell me what we would have to do.
The man the question, the man the answer, Mr. Chairman.
You have to evaluate risk, Mr. Chairman. If you are jumping on a bus, if you are driving with me from here to Bamapan, and I don't drive 90 miles an hour.
Man, I want to see the government. I want to see the government that start my vet. Come on now. I want to see the government. I want to see the government that will drop a contingency plan for us losing. I want to see that government because it will not exist. So
they don't got the guts because they don't even have the guts to draft one for make we win, much less we will lose.
Well, I don't want to see one for losing.
Why would they want to drop a plan for lose? Why would we think? Why would we have even thought?
The world is wrong, Mr. Chairman.
See, and this is the thing.
Contingency planning is part of planning. Effective planning. Proper planning.
Will you let somebody speak sometimes, sir? Without being so rude, man. Anyway.
So every time I open my mouth, I stop somebody else from talk.
Obviously, yes.
Put my clock on the thing and see how much time I get to talk on the show. That would solve your problem. It would help you.
I don't have a problem with you, sir. Go ahead. It's all right.
But Mr. Chair, what is wrong with contingency planning?
What is what with what?
When, Mr. Chair,
what's the question? Hold on. What's the question? What's the question? I didn't get the
plan in advance of the hurricane.
No, that would be what then?
Contingency plan.
Right. Right. So I'm saying to you, I'm saying to you, there's only one contingency plan. We stockpile weapons in caves and wage guerrilla warfare because we're not going to give this country up. And if an attack's so big, then we need to fight for it. Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to fight?
We have to fight, Mr. Chairman. We have to fight Salvador too. Do you know that?
I don't fight.
Were you aware of that?
Why wouldn't just pile obstacles in front of Uno? I don't see any of that.
You have to know your enemies.
I see us winning
and
at the
ICJ. And their capabilities.
I see us winning, and you two guys do not believe it. I believe it. You two guys don't. It's simple as that. Yeah.
Well, if you're not planning,
Plan for what? Why would you plan to lose? Why would anyone plan to lose?
It's an irrelevant. It's an irrelevant.
Yes, winning. It depends on what you see as winning. I told you that your foreign minister, Mr. Courtney, has basically said that there are some few surprises in store for us.
But you quoting him is not evidence of what will happen, George. You quoting him is not evidence. No, he's not. No, he's not.
You can do.
He holds the portfolio for what's going on.
He's not even one of the lawyers in that case. He's not even one of the lawyers.
He's the foreign minister.
The position of foreign minister.
Yes.
Foreign minister.
Right. And what does he do?
He has no policy of national policy.
Yes. But
he has written on this.
But yes, and
he has written on this matter.
At the end of the day, what I'm saying to you, listen, you're missing my point. We are going to the ICJ. We are at the ICJ. Now, it don't matter whether we win or we lose. What do we do if we win? We're all right. What do we do if we lose? But you're saying, oh, we have to cry about it. You remind me of the guy with gone down in the basement with the X hanging in the ceiling. All you do is pull out the damn axe, man. No cry that it might drop in your head.
You have misunderstood.
What are we to do, George? No, you keep quoting.
I am saying that you have to plan an event. You have to plan for contingency. And that means worst case scenario. And it might be worst case scenario. Sometimes the hurricane they had the belief, and sometimes the divert.
Hurricane is quite different than giving up half your country.
Come on now. They're distracting. They're not sticking to the point. And there's a simple matter. You cannot argue this. You cannot fight that fight again. The war is lost. Give it up, George.
George, come on now, George.
A hurricane is a catastrophic event.
George, do you honestly want us to spend?
Event for Belize.
Man, you guys just keep talking.
Conceptual similarities.
A hurricane is quite different than a contingency plan to what would happen if half your country is lost. Now, I will tell you, at some level in governance, these people need to have some thought about what's our chances of winning or losing. But I would have hoped that kind of decision has been made a long time ago.
Yep.
If new things are being introduced, that's going to influence that they believe.
For example,
the outcome. Well, I don't think that affects Guatemala's claim. It just puts a burden and it just creates more distraction on what. But that doesn't strengthen Guatemala's claim. That doesn't strengthen Guatemala.
Mr. Morrison, it affects the Guatemalan claim because the Guatemalan claim is based on them projecting the sea area from Puerto Barrio.
No, I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. I understand that implication. But I'm saying
there's an overlap in there that if the international court says that Guatemala is entitled to the land in the south and the sea that is adjacent to that land all the way out, then them and Honduras will have a hell of a problem besides having
We already made that point, Brackett. We already made
that point. We need to recognize that because that's the new element that is being thrown into this. They sent us to the ICJ, and then now after the fact, pretending like they are just discovering this issue.
It doesn't change the status of where Belize is. Either Belize is going to lose the territory to Guatemala or it's going to lose it to Honduras. That's the outcome, right?
Well, to Honduras not claim the southern part of the country, unlike Guatemala. They are claiming a few of our islands.
I'm talking to the extent that
and some water away.
I'm talking to the extent. Don't broaden it more than it needs to be. I'm talking to just specifically what their claim represents to what Guatemala claim represents. Not the whole.
But I'm saying to you, sir, that Honduras would be the entity more in a position to have justifiable claims to those keys and or any of the southern waters, because the part of the territory that Guatemala is trying to use to claim those southern waters is actually that projection out of the. That's why when they had the 2000 Ramphal-Weicker proposal, Anybody remember that?
No, tell me about it.
Okay, that is when we had that proposal
Yes,
where
I do. I do, sir.
No, just tell me about it. I don't
Somebody
know.
said something?
Tell me about it.
Oh, okay. That is that 2002 that 2000 proposal that Ramphal and Weicker, who were the two persons who were supposed to delimit well, one of the delimitation of our maritime area. They also had to do with the lands, the whole of the issue of the lands of Belize and the adjacency and all these things. Okay, but specifically why I was referring to that is because they had a median line and an exclusive economic zone, as well as other areas that they were proposing to give Guatemala. Belize would give Guatemala one part of it. Honduras would give Guatemala one part of it, so that Guatemala would end up with a certain amount. And Guatemala would have ended up with more than Belize, and would have ended up with Honduran territory that the Honduran people were not willing to dispense with, which is why the whole other thing went belly up. If it was left to Belize, based on the Maritime Areas Act that was already in place, it would have happened. But Honduras saved us from our own selves.
So it didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
Holy mackerels.
Well, if it didn't happen, then it didn't
Mr.
happen.
Chair.
I mean, if we
Mr.
spend
Chair,
time at the
The
table, so that
Maritime
didn't
Areas Act
happen.
is an active, signed, agreed process by our legislators, sir. How you say it not happen?
No,
I mean,
no,
you know,
the
you understand
agreement with Honduras.
You said
You
it
understand
went
what
belly
it is
up.
I'm trying to project.
You said it went belly up. You said that's why it didn't happen.
What
You
went
said-
belly up
you
was
said
the
Honduras-
Tommy
2000
said you need a
Ramphal. You know, listen to
contingency
me.
plan
You
anyway.
can try
And
argue with me,
Sam
sir. Listen.
start craziness.
What I said
We
went
don't
belly up
understand.
was the Ramphal Weicker proposal. We did not agree to it. But that did not have nothing to do with the Maritime Areas Act itself, because the Maritime Areas Act was already signed and delivered. How many more times I need to say that?
100 times if you need to. 100 times. Can you say that 100 times anyway? You try to sound so bright,
Mr.
man.
Chair,
I think I'll waste my breath.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I make an intervention? Finally,
Yes.
the most egregious aspect of the referendum was when they threw the diaspora, the American
here we go now.
the bus.
Oh, that's the card.
I agree.
That-
I agree.
Yeah, we could all agree that.
Hold on, man.
We could agree that. But the referendum was held.
Wait, man.
The referendum was held.
Despite what the Supreme Court judge says when they had the Hoynier review, right?
And now
Okay.
I'm trying to segue into the point that we said we would discuss.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
The then government, the then UDP and the PUP colluded and said we could throw the diaspora under the bus. I am asking now, is the diaspora relevant? Are they united or monolithic?
Let me ask you another question.
That's not the question, though.
Let me ask you another
That's not the
question.
question, because Belize is not monolithic either.
Let me ask you a question.
So there's no relevance. Sorry.
Bracket. Thank you.
Was
Go ahead, Greg.
was the government
Go ahead.
in their behavior tyrannic? Did they deserve to govern, or should they have been overthrown by any means necessary?
Yep. Good question. So we're back to the weapons now again.
I would go to the point. That is
That's
the
where I
will of the
wanted to go.
people.
That's where I wanted to go.
I think that if the people were sufficiently informed, we may have reached there. But there was a disinformation campaign. I could tell you that I was on the other side. I was on the side basically, wait, don't go there. And I'll tell you that they made every effort to stifle our efforts. What we had at our disposal.
What we had was a compromised government.
Less than
Who was working
$50,000,
at the
millions.
Well, maybe you just couldn't love it for the money.
Millions for the government.
You couldn't
cash
come up
and
with the
in
money.
You know what the outcome would have been.
And again,
This
we
is
got
like Mike Tyson fighting a toddler. You see. But anyway, so I'm trying to stimulate the discussion and get us on
you
some
want
of these
to fill us with
issues
doubt
of the
You want to-
diaspora, really.
You want to fill
Time
us
is
with
going.
doubt. I don't have any doubt that we will win that case. I really don't.
No,
I mean,
no.
I too don't have any doubt that we'll win.
Mr. Chairman, if the sky is blue, I can't tell you that it is green.
Yeah.
You seem to be. You.
I'm seem to be telling you that the sky is blue. I understand. Now you want to tell me green?
No. You seem to when you're not in agreement with something, you basically interrupt and you negate what whoever will be saying, and when you interrupt, people don't get the opportunity to round out their thoughts. And I am saying to you, we talk about the diaspora. I want to talk about the diaspora, not only in relation to the ICJ, which as you have said, is passed in a certain context. Let us talk about the diaspora, man. Is it valuable to Belize? I'm going to talk about the ICJ.
One third of the budget.
You're asking a question, or you want hold up? You ask a question or rattle on?
I'm asking a question, sir.
Yes, the question is yes, they are. Yes, and I believe that any referendum that has something to do with Belize should include the diaspora because they are still Belizeans. Anything else? How far else we could go with that question? I am not. Look here, regardless of what it might seem or you might want to believe, I am not anti-diaspora. No? There's only one sticking point that I have, and it's simple. We could discuss this at any time. The point is that when you become a citizen of the U.S. and the diaspora might need, those dual citizens might need to worry about the U.S. more than Belize, because in there it says, I pledge before God that I renounce any state that I had allegiance to, and I come to you fully holy, without any kind of conditions. Am I lying?
That is true, but the US does recognize dual citizenship, so it means that it has that as part of its swearing-in ceremony.
So does Belize. So does Belize recognize dual citizens, Mr. Morrison? Yeah.
And so some Belizeans are more Belizeans than others. Then, is that the conclusion? Because that's not what the Constitution says. It describes
what I'm trying
who
to get
and what is a Belizean.
Is that,
Go ahead.
Something went on or something.
Because
about him or something.
I know that the chairman has had reservations about somebody living in the diaspora, basically
not living in the diaspora, not living in the diaspora.
I find that strange.
Sir, be clear on it. Be clear on it. Why do you continue? Why do you continue when you're obviously wrong? I have nothing wrong with somebody living in the diaspora. Don't represent the facts like that.
No problem
with someone who has dual citizenship.
So you have no problem with somebody.
Yeah. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have a problem with somebody who is a United States, who's a Belizean American,
right?
Basically running at the national level. Wait, we're gonna finish. Do you have a problem with a Taiwanese who has become a Belizean running for national office?
Can I try to explain to you what's the difference with
I'm
that?
asking a question.
There's no difference, but the point is that the Constitution does not grant you that liberty for you to stipulate that and make it be. You can say whatever you want, wish whatever you want, but the Constitution remains one and the same.
Brackett is not allowing it because he knows everything here. I mean, what are you saying, Mr. Brackett?
I'm saying that the Constitution does not agree with what you're stipulating. You might have a right to stipulate what you want.
What am I stipulating? I've not said anything yet as far as that, except
that a Belizean cannot or should not run for the highest levels of office in our country.
Let's make it clear, first of all. Let's make it clear. Belizeans that are citizens of the United States is not being denied anything. They have given up certain rights voluntarily.
Stop that. No. You overdo it. No. You exaggerate.
What? Did you sign? Did you recite? Hold on. You know what? I have this. have the oath of allegiance. Should I?
Mr.
Oh,
Chairman,
he
calm
pulled it
down.
out.
Calm down. Calm down, Mr. Chairman. Calm down. Calm down.
Do I go?
Calm down, Mr.
Really,
Chairman.
do you guys have the oath in front of you? It's a short oath. Have you ever looked at it carefully that you swear before God that I'm giving up
Sir,
these rights? It's not.
Why can't we stick to the Constitution of Belize? We're talking about Belize and Belizean prerogatives. Let us stick to the Constitution of Belize.
What
And
does
what
the
the Belizean Constitution says.
What does the Constitution say, sir, that makes you think that you should be able to do that? Pledge allegiance to another nation, renounce all allegiance to Belize, and then still come and want the full benefits
Sir,
of a citizen.
The Constitution does not grant you the frivolous personal preference of deciding what Belizean or which Belizean gets to exercise what rights and which rights.
But
that's the purview of the Constitution itself.
Forget dual
and the Constitution says that unless the person
do you know what renounce means? Do you know
oh,
what
come on,
renounce
man.
means?
Come on.
Do you really? Let's look it up in the dictionary then. Let's
Oh,
Google it.
come on. That means that we are looking in a dictionary for every word that comes out of the Constitution.
No,
right?
just this one. What does renounce mean? What does
can
renounce mean?
Mr. Chair, can I?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Chair?
Certainly.
Did Mr. Morrison provide some clarification by saying that the United States recognizes
that has nothing to do with that? That has nothing to do with that. The United States can do
yes,
that.
Yes, it does.
What?
Because
what
if the United States recognizes dual citizen, it's basically saying that a Belizean can exercise his full right as a Belizean citizen also.
No. Not everything is a right. Some things are privileges.
Mr. Chairman, I keep telling you, your preference is your preference and you're entitled to that, sir. But that does not override the black and white constitutional prescript.
My boy,
the Constitution is the Constitution.
Why don't you sometimes leave an argument to be between two persons, then afterwards you can bring in. You don't have to jump in and clarify every point, sir.
Let me say something. Let me say something. I do believe that once that someone has the right to be a citizen of both countries. And I don't necessarily believe that because you become an American citizen, you cannot have the right to serve in the National Assembly. Because as
who would
Belizeans,
you be representing? Who would you be representing?
You'll be representing Belize. People have the ability to compartment.
We don't have that kind of democracy. We represent constituencies.
But that's fine. That's fine. You could still represent your you'll be representing the constituency that elected you. People can compartmentalize that because I don't see where that interests necessarily conflict with being an American and being a Belizean serving. I know there could be a situation where US could put pressure on someone to kind of do it, but then they have a choice. I'll tell you why it's important and why it would help our democracy if people are given that right to serve. Because if you, for example, lives in the United States, worked here for 30, 40 years, and then you go back to Belize and decide, I want to run and participate in government and run at the highest level. It means if you do that, you have to give up your social security.
No, you don't.
No, wait. Some of the benefits and some. No, you may have to. I don't mean in total. I don't mean in total. But there are certain privileges that you have when you're a citizen. You don't have to come back and register.
Why do you want that?
Let me finish a minute.
Sir.
You don't have to come back every 6 months or every year to renew your passport or anything like that to maintain it. I don't think you could be getting those benefits. That's why I said that. I don't think you could be getting those benefits if you're not an American citizen. Even though you had contributed to the fund, I think there might be some issues with the rights to have those social security and benefits if you're not. Because when you go apply for your social security, one of the things they ask you for is your citizenship document if you're a naturalized. I think even if you're a citizen,
no, that's not true. That's not true.
No, they do. I'm telling you, they do. I just going through that process right now, and those are some of the things.
No, anybody, that is your money. You've worked for it. You've earned it, and it is yours by right. You do get your social security wherever you are in the world. I worked 20 years in the United States. I survive now on a social security from the United States.
Okay.
And I live in Belize.
Okay.
I would not.
You are not a citizen of US?
I was never a citizen.
Okay.
I was never a citizen.
Okay.
So the point is that you do, and if you want to have something above what the people in Belize that you are representing have, then I find something inherently unfair about that. I believe that once you come home and you and let me answer your question, George, that if a Taiwanese came here and became a citizen and lived the prescribed period of time and then went again and renounced that citizenship, he would not be able to run for office. I don't think right now any of them would be elected anyway.
Yes,
I really don't think
Mr. Chairman, I ask you one straight question like you always try to do, right? What part of the Constitution tell you that a Belizean cannot run for office because they have dual citizenship?
Say it again.
What part of the Constitution tells you, or can you cite for us that tells you that a Belizean with dual citizenship cannot run for office?
Isn't there that sections 58 that you guys were trying to change that says that? That is
no,
a ridiculous question.
No, sir. There's no such thing. I'm trying to tell you. That's basically why I asked you the question the way I asked it.
Oh, so you mean everybody is wrong and you're right on this one?
Oh, Toledo. You're gone again?
No. We're here. We're still there. Not gone away.
Okay.
What are you saying?
Mr. Brackett, that's a very pertinent question, and perhaps we need to look at some of the laws, not necessarily embedded in the Constitution, that basically said, because I believe that there are laws that basically said that somebody from the diaspora cannot run for.
They try to amend it. They try to do amendments to that.
Yeah.
These are part of the games that they keep playing.
Okay.
There's nothing that explicitly says it in the Constitution.
Let me say it, let me say this right now. Somebody with an American citizenship comes in and becomes a part of government and does something crooked and decides to run from the country. They have a country to run to. Is that fair? Is that really fair?
People have will have the ability to go to another country always.
But at least you can get extradited.
No, but if you come to the United States, I think you'd be, and you did something wrong in Belize.
Not if you're an American citizen. No. Not if you're an American citizen. No. So that, I think, is a boon there that we need to contend with.
Okay.
Yes, George, go ahead.
But isn't the argument that we're looking at a Belizean American? And so if a Belizean American comes to Belize and qualifies to run at the national level and does something in Belize and runs back to the United States, there's really an extradition treaty for criminals.
That's what I would think.
You really believe that America will send back a citizen of theirs to Belize?
I think so.
Have they ever done it? Have that ever been done? Really? Has it ever been done?
I don't know that it has been tested.
Yeah. And I think those are worthy things to consider in the Constitution and in discussion with the United States when we talk about those extradition treaty. What happens in those circumstances?
But I just wanted, sorry.
It's simple.
I didn't want to muddy the water, but I just wanted to make sure that the audience, the listening audience, understands the point that I'm making. That you have a difficulty with the diaspora qualifying to run, but I was simply making the point, what about a Taiwanese that we have sold a passport to that is still a Taiwanese, but also a Belizean? Do you have a problem with them?
You don't have to go away to Taiwan. You could go right to the Guatemalan. We're giving citizenship right now and have dual.
I don't want to go there yet. I don't want to go there yet. I'm just asking him. I don't know what the beef is with objecting to our own Belizeans like yourself.
No.
Taiwan represents no threat.
The beef is
Mr. Morrison, who has helped this country tremendously.
You really,
we could only benefit from you, gentlemen.
You're devious. You're devious, but
from all the assistance that you're giving.
Aren't we already benefiting
Why is it
from
that
that?
we have this hard on against you guys?
Let me ask you a question. Is it Only by running for politics in Belize that Belizean Americans can help Belize grow.
That's not how they're helping right now. That's not how they're helping right now, and they're contributing tremendously.
Yes.
But
why? So why is that?
They have, but they can help more.
By what? By in doing what?
By running for politics. I think I think denying them the right is a great injustice and is a short-sightedness on the part of the country.
I can't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah. Because you're putting a lot of emphasis that there's
no difficulty with the Taiwanese running.
Yeah,
but he has a difficulty. He has a difficulty with Belizean Americans and other people from the diaspora running. I could see Mr. Brackett right now. I could see Mr. Brackett probably being the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It would be a vast improvement. I can see Mr. Morrison basically being the Minister of Infrastructure and Works. It would be, you have all of this knowledge. You live in a system that is run. It's the best democracy on the planet. We would want you to come, except that there's a chairman that basically says we have to.
No. Chairman only in the context of this show. Not try that. I have no authority with that.
Marvin, I like how you divide me from the chairman. You give me a portfolio, and then
listen here. Give me 2 seconds. Give me two. Let's stand a minute. Hold on. Please. Give me just. I beg you for this least short time here. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of which I have hitherto been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God. That's under oath.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yeah, yes, but there are more egregious things than that going on. We have Guatemalans that are being made citizens.
Hello.
Yes, and we can deal with that.
Santos is wanted in Brazil. That's what ballistic court say. America's not sending him back, so there's no treaty or extradition treaty with no Americans for anywhere if they don't send them back.
America ain't sending no citizen of America nowhere, anywhere. America has made that clear. Nobody goes. America is American then. Let's put it like that. They're
true. I'll research that to see if America has ever extradited anyone. I don't know.
They'll send back a citizen of your country, and I don't know about the dual citizen. Maybe I don't know if they might revoke the citizenship if the crime is serious enough. Go ahead, George. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Brackett seemed to have, but has definitely stated that what you have read there, there are provisions that are made in relation to dual citizenship in relation to the American issue. And I wanted to get to the point that he was making. I want you to read the part of the Belizean Constitution, which basically says in principle that no citizen of any state that does not recognize the territorial integrity or independence of Belize can or shall become a citizen of this country. And then I also want you to contemplate that the majority of nationalized citizens in this country are from Guatemala. I want you to rationalize those two things.
No. Why? Because I don't agree with that. I've never agreed with
I want the consistency again. No, because but you
You can't. What you telling me? I have never agreed with Guatemalans being a citizen of Belize because it's in the Constitution and it's unconstitutional. But you have something in there that's a minister's discretion, which allows it to happen. And this is one of the things
no. There's no such thing as a minister's discretion when it comes to the Constitution.
I don't even know that it does.
Which is why I kept trying to tell you guys that the purpose of this undertaking that they are currently trying to do is to bring that about. Okay?
There are caveats there, and
the Constitution remains as the Constitution.
A policy as you read.
Hold on a second, because maybe George might finally find something to disagree with you on. You are saying, Mr. Brackett, that is what they're trying to do now, is to make the minister's discretion come into effect when it's not. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. That's part of what I told you the agenda when I described to you in the previous discussion about an agenda being implemented or being sought for or worked towards.
And you know that for a fact.
That's part of what I'm referring to.
You know that for a fact. George, do you know that also? That a part of what they want to do is make sure the minister's discretion is put into the Constitution.
Have they publicized that, sir?
Have they what?
Have they publicized that?
The minister discretion is always part of the Constitution. That's not.
No, in certain aspects. In certain aspects.
What do you mean certain aspects? It either is or isn't.
It says it isn't. It didn't limit it, and that's why they violate the very essence of what the embodiment of the Constitution is.
The Constitution says that nobody should be given citizenship who is a citizen of a country that does not recognize the territorial integrity of Belize.
Then
Guatemala.
And then
it goes on to say that the ministers are empowered to grant citizenships or nationality to different people through the House of Representatives making laws to bring that about.
Minister's discretion. Which
yes,
is
sir.
Basically what it is. All right.
But one does not, the minister's discretion does not trump what the Constitution says. That's why you have judicial review. If any of those issues occur and it's taken to court,
I agree.
There's a judicial review, and the court will tell them, go to hell, go back to your office, do your work properly, and stick to what the Constitution is telling you. But they don't do that. They go out to the assembly like Mr. Barrow did the last time when the Supreme Court tell him that he could not do certain things. Yeah. He went and presumably under the idea that he was creating a new law to empower him to do it, which the Constitution had already been pointed out to them that they did not have the authority to do it.
And so
they had to do it anyhow.
And you had nobody to object.
And people had no problem with that. People just followed it.
Did you object to it?
I was there in the assembly when that matter took place. I was there in the court when the ruling was made.
Did you object to it?
I'm not a sir. You know how courts work. Nobody can just jump up in a court and open up the mouth and say nothing. That's not how the system works. You can
write something. You can call Krem. You can call Love. You can call somebody. I mean, if you're so passionate about that.
I wrote about it.
Where?
In the assembly. I almost got my ass kicked out of the assembly for heckling them about it. You don't know. There's a lot that I could tell you that you don't know.
You said you wrote about it
because I know too much.
Yeah, you know too much.
I was physically there when that matter was going on.
And you did what?
I left from the UDP side at the thing where I was as a UDP in protest and went on the other side to the PUP side and started heckling the bloody UDP to the point where
you understand. We understand. No.
Where the Mace bearer sent some of the officers up there to silence me.
Waste with time, man. Because
I know the waste with time for the tell you what happened because you pretend like you tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Because you don't know what I was there dealing with my matters.
And what? And what? And?
You know, and what? And what?
What you want? One medal or a chest to hang it on?
No. You ask the question, I give you the answer. And you're not satisfied with the answer. So what else can I do?
You not give me an answer to glorify yourself.
Whatever.
Mr. Brackett got a big chest. Mr. Brackett got a big chest.
I would say that there was a senior PUP who once said, "There's no old PUP or new PUP. There's one PUP." And I will say to you that there's no separation between a Belizean living in the diaspora and one living at home. There's one Belize and one Belizean.
Me not see that connection where you talk about. Me not see that. How do you that's a bridge too far? I mean, really, there's no connection there. There's no connection. I agree with you.
Let me ask you. Let me point out.
Mr. Marvin, that's what the Constitution says. So there's one Belizean. It defines what a Belizean.
Look at successful.
Can the gentleman have a say, please?
Look at successful states like Israel. Their citizens is recognized wherever they are. Right? American citizens are recognized wherever they are. Even if an American gives up his citizenship in another country, he's still an American. Even if an American becomes a citizen, even if an individual becomes an American citizen, they are still considered an American. And America will do whatever they can to support that citizen. And I think Belize should be doing the same.
No, you know what's funny about that?
No, they're scared. I'll tell you what the problem was. They're scared that the American, Belizean American would come home and have some assets to get involved in the politics and then get elected. And they don't want to have them to contend with, the fact that maybe the person might be a bit more advanced and more able to
advance in what way?
Bring something to the country and help the country.
What makes you
That's
advance?
not their interest.
What makes you more advanced?
What makes
you more advanced?
In the chairman's mind.
What would make you more advanced, sir? What makes you think you're more advanced?
Not me. If I wanted to be in a politics, I could have been in politics long time.
Because that's the problem.
Don't bring that kind of shenanigan to me.
You
talk to the wrong person when you bring that kind of statement.
You know who I admire?
I'm an operator. I make things happen behind the scene.
Oh, shit.
If I'm one day in a politics, I could have been in a politics. Mr. Price, Mr. Price, to run for POP.
So should people bow down?
They don't know history.
Price.
Listen to me.
Mr. Brackett.
Mr. Price giving me education. What? He me to try get me free run for PUP. First, he want to make a run to the council.
You and the chairman have something in common.
then a farmer PUP?
No, I was never a full PUP.
Oh man.
I was never a full PUP. I was grateful to the man because the man was indeed. I mean, I don't have a problem. Okay, I shouldn't say that. I have some problems with Mr. Price. I don't have. Mr. Price is not a pariah as far as I'm concerned, but he's not the same that a lot of other people try to make him out to be because they don't know his background.
He's not even a part.
The man is a great man in his own rights.
He's not even a part of this discussion. So make we not go there, man. We jump all over the place.
Is did
well, John
Price, Taiwanese and the Guatemalan serve as representative in Belize?
Not in the National Assembly.
Yes.
Which one?
Lee Mark Chen.
What part of the Constitution prevents him? There was a guy who broke down some Maya ruins that was getting set to run in the National Assembly.
Grijalva. He wasn't elected.
Grijalva.
That's not, the point was not being elected. We also have the Chakran.
Well, she was disqualified.
The that was running for Lake Independence.
And she was disqualified.
But it wasn't disqualified on the basis of the citizenship.
Yes, it was. Yes, she was.
Okay.
She was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because people put up a fuss and arguing about it.
Well,
I thought it was
she's not the only one. We have people right now in the PUP. As a matter of fact, I think I brought this up the other day and Chairman kind of tried to shut it down about it.
I thought it was because her registration
Prime Minister
expired.
No, Greg. No,
who is the second closest person to the
it was found out that she was born in Guatemala. And that was an interesting one because her mother went over to Guatemala because they were giving better medical services there. She was born there, came back. She never returned to Guatemala, never ever lived in Guatemala.
So we're not parsing the difference yet, man. You see how you get into the weed when you want to and it's convenient for you? We weren't passing
that's a good explanation. I appreciate that.
The fact is that she's a Guatemalan born. That of itself, I personally would not have a problem with because for various reasons or other reasons. My point is that the Constitution says one thing and these guys does whatever the hell they want.
No shit.
That's my point.
You notice that, huh?
Go again, Mr. Priyanan.
I say you notice that.
No, I was putting it up as an example to you to say that
and both
when these people
parties
want to violate the Constitution, come hell or high water, they do just what they want. That's all I was saying.
Yes, yes.
The Constitution is irrelevant to some of these people.
Well, you're talking in the presence of the right person.
And there's a reason why the Constitution stipulated or made those kind of stipulations, because we didn't want Guatemalans in our system up at those levels to be able to have influence on how the governance work.
Exactly.
Until
but yet I would have as my wife a Guatemalan who is singing in my ears, and who when the Prime Minister got elected this last round in 2020, where was the first place he went? Did he go to Mexico, Jamaica, any other place?
Where does all this
immediately upon being notified that he had the majority seats, he went to Guatemala to go and genuflect to the Guatemalan president.
What does this do except to show us that you know it? And
I point out to you things that I know that you should know, and by us knowing it, that we should be suspect of what is it that this man is after and doing. Put all the bits and pieces together and we can get to the riddle.
I've heard the same arguments about Dean Barrow, and before him Esquivel, and before him George Price. So we all have the same arguments to when somebody.
And then why you keep shutting me down? If you know all of that, why you keep trying to shut me down when I bring these points up? That's the Republican one. People need to know, because that's what fortitude is all about. When you know your stuff and you know your history and you know what's going on, you're able to at least stand in the breach and fight the hell out of the process until you could succeed. You don't necessarily succeed, but at least you have the fortitude to fight.
Mr. Brackett.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. Go ahead.
There's the word of the law and there's the spirit of the law. I believe that the provision in the Constitution that speaks to not granting the enemy citizenship was basically somebody contemplating the fact that the last thing you want is for Guatemala to, by way of
undermine you
nationalization, over. You know what's happening with the amnesty program right now?
Yeah,
it is exactly that. It is doing exactly what the Constitution in spirit was trying to prevent.
Not only in spirit, in law. The laws, this Constitution
I can tell you,
do it.
I can also tell you, gentlemen, that the Constitution does authorize them to do part of what they're doing, but not to the extent that they're going to bring in. They say we have 120,000. Well, initially they were saying we had a little less than 100,000 Creole Belizean. So automatically, then by him,
they said it's 30%
nationalizing. By him nationalizing 60 to 100,000, because that's only the first batch of people, which is equal to the population of the Creole in Belize.
You know what?
That's a marginalization factor of 1 to 1, without considering the already 68% that the Latinos are.
And you know, the Prime Minister already tell us
sit
down that Creole is not the majority anymore.
He said it in one word.
But it is true.
That tells you where the man is going.
And that's true.
Yeah, throw that back in our face, like what Mr. Chairman said.
Throw what back in our face? It's the fact.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
Man is stating the obvious.
It's the truth. So what you want from me?
It shouldn't have been obvious if we didn't have Okay, go ahead.
Man.
You know what? The reality of Mr. Chairman.
I'd rather have this argument than the ICJ one.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I can't hear you.
I'm not hearing. Is something wrong with the mic?
The conversation is very, very relevant. And I think what we're doing in terms of decentralization.
We're not hearing you.
Not only violating the Constitution, but we're also undermining the.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, Marvin, that we're not hearing what you're saying.
Yeah, we're not.
You're not hearing you.
Going and coming.
Sorry, you're not hearing me.
No, sir.
Something you're doing wrong.
Could you repeat yourself from the beginning of what you were saying? Start saying it over again,
no, not getting you. Let me say though, we're almost out of time. Man, I prefer to have this conversation. I prefer to have this conversation. Yeah, no, see about the moving out of here. Nothing. Let me say again. Let me try to say this. I prefer to have this
Let me
discussion
get my
because
technician, Maro.
this is relevant. As opposed to the stuff that's already
Maro.
past and gone. I think there's some, and even though I have my sticking point in this, I would like to see us discuss this more. I believe again that the diaspora should have representation in the House of Representatives, but representing
Oh,
their
all right.
constituency. Are you gonna try again?
I think the chairman inadvertently shut off my mic when I was talking
Here
about
you know,
Guatemala.
here much better.
Oh, good.
That one we could laugh about. That's a wonderful joke.
I was making.
Mr. Marvin, some of people might think
I was making.
you're serious or no? I think you discredit the man.
That it's a serious issue. No. I was making the point that it's a serious issue of the Mr. program, because basically what you're doing, you are legitimate management failure. You have failed to guard borders, and you are now saying this flood of people that keep coming in, you will nationalize. According to you, 60,000 people who are skeptical when I say 60,000 and 100,000. You are looking to nationalize 25% of the current population in one fell swoop. The United States is having hysterics over a couple 100,000 people at its borders. The population of the United States is over 328 million people. There's
But
not
less
a million
than 1%.
people.
Yeah.
It's not even 1% at the border.
Right.
And rightfully so, the United States is basically saying it's a security risk.
Can you?
But not for
we have to
beliefs.
deal with it constructively.
Do you understand the
We
rationale?
have 68% already.
Do you understand the rationale behind them doing it, George? Why do you see any credence in that?
I understand it, but I don't agree. I don't agree with it.
Yeah,
I don't agree with it.
Why do you
for
think
various
they're doing
reasons?
it? Why do you think they're doing it?
Well, they
Making us irrelevant in our own country.
They want to Latinize beliefs. And
really? Are you serious? Are you serious that I? Hold on.
No, that's the result. That's the result of the action. But I don't think.
Yes.
But I don't think that's the reason.
These guys are not goatish. They're not stupid. They know exactly what the hell they're doing.
Hold up, no man. One at a time, man. One at a time. You said what you had to say, George. Listen, if these people are
you're shutting me down. You're asking me a question, and when I attempt to respond,
no, but you said something, and I didn't ask. You didn't ask. I didn't ask you a question. The fact is that
I was making a point.
But you made the point. But Greg made the point also, which is a relevant one and correct. That you're talking about what the result will be. My question was, why are they doing it? They're doing it because they believe that they're working in the country, and if they're documenting
it's not the result, it's a policy. No. That's a cover for what they're doing.
How can you say that? You get like my friend Brackett over there now. You cannot make that statement. You can suppose it. You can opine, but you cannot say that is why they're doing it, man. Obviously. Do you think there's
when was the last time
entitlement to say what he's saying as part of the program? He's not saying that you said it.
If he can say it, it'll be fine. It'll be. I believe he can speak for himself.
When was the last time that they deported some Guatemalans, sir?
I don't know. What does that have to do with this? What does that have to do with this?
That is basically saying that there's bias. There's bias. That is what that is saying. You will deport Haitian refugees.
From where? Bias from where?
But you will not. But you will not deport. You will not deport the Latin refugees from Guatemala. Duh! Don't you see?
Why not?
Don't you see the connection?
The connection? What?
Why not? Don't you see the connection that they are deporting? They are deporting the Black Haitian refugees, but they are not deporting the Hispanic Guatemalans.
Haven't they sent back Guatemalans? They've sent back Guatemalans, yes. Yeah, they have sent back Guatemalans. They have deported Guatemalans. What do you mean when? They have. I can tell you when. I can't tell you now, but we could research
nationalizing them.
They're nationalizing some. There's some Guatemalans that have been sent back. I know Guatemalans who have been deported. How about that?
Yeah. Well, maybe the ones that have killed people.
You want to know the exact time and date?
Yes, I want to know the numbers.
I don't think anybody support Guatemalans having citizenship and having access into Belize under the current condition and situation with the claim. And it's prohibited under the Constitution, and we continue to allow it. And the people themselves have said nothing to the government to let them know that this is something that shouldn't be happening. So the government acts with its own free thought in this kind of stuff.
My concern is that
let me hear Mr. Brackett. Let me hear what Mr. Mavitt was going to say.
You said that nobody should have a problem with it, but I'm saying that the chairman is silent on this matter of allowing Guatemalans to basically have a free reign into Belize.
I don't think he has. No, I don't think he has. I don't think he has.
He has by his silence.
You won't let me speak. I have to be silent. I am against Guatemalans coming into Belize altogether until this claim is resolved. However, let's go back to the diaspora. We have a lot of job openings in this country that was left vacant when we had a brain drain, 2 brain drains. Lot of our people left and went abroad.
No.
Mr. Chairman, remind me sometime in the future to have that discussion with you. Or maybe set up a specific program that me and you could handle that, because you take a lot of timing to convince you that what you're saying didn't have merits, and to show you where the facts really lie.
Well, see, this is the point.
Because they don't lie where you are putting them.
I don't argue to convince people.
Well, you see that part of the problem.
And you can't convince
You have to exchange ideas in order to acquire knowledge, sir.
Exactly.
Or in order to change your mind. You try to tell me you will never ever change your mind on no subject whatsoever.
How you get to that point? How you get to that point? I'm saying I don't argue to try to convince.
I'm just saying that based on what you stipulated,
you
just
say
so
you want to
I have additional information that could be of interest or benefit to you.
You know, you remind
maybe somebody else could get information and bring it to you. So I try to bring it.
I got this, but you just know, say I got it. I don't have to tell you, say I got it. No, if you got it, bring it forward.
Come on, man. Stop playing games now. Stop playing games. But anyhow, leave it at that.
Mr. Chairman, are you suggesting that our citizens living in the diaspora just deserted Belize?
Not all.
That is the point that I was trying to point out to you.
Would you shut up, man, please? But look here, can the man, he could talk for himself, you know, man. Let him speak, man.
I'm asking
you let him speak then.
Are you suggesting that our people living in the American diaspora especially consciously left Belize outside of the context that in a sense they are economic refugees, you know? In a sense. And I'm saying that because people have left.
But what's the question? Ask me the question so I can answer it. Because you're asking a question.
The question is, are you suggesting that people left Belize knowing that their migration from Belize would have negative consequences?
No.
Okay. What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that it was a result of them leaving, where the void was left and somebody had to fill it. And we have neighbors. We're in Central America where all our neighbors that were coming in are from neighboring countries.
But Mr. Chair, many people left because of the situation. There were jobs not created. A lot of the people that have left, sir, are people that were educated and people with skills. And you should know.
A lot of the people that left, you said.
A lot of them were shut out of the possibility of getting jobs because of political affiliation.
Exactly.
What about that for facts?
you would know that in the Amandala, no less than the Amandala back in the 70s, was basically saying that there was a kind of anti-intellectualism to Price and his government.
But you keep quoting people,
a
man.
number of people.
There's a fallacy. There's a fallacy in argument referring to authority. It's a fallacy of argument. It's not. It's not sound argument.
So if I cite a source, that makes the argument invalid?
No, but you can't cite it and use that as the truth. You can't just because somebody said it means that it's true.
Yeah, but
that was an opinion. That was an opinion piece.
Well, it's an informed opinion until I see something else that disputes it. You hear about an informed opinion?
Many are,
Mr. Brackett has very informed opinion. He's not talking outside of a context.
You the seek support now. You the grab for support. That support. Yeah, you the seek support. You the seek support.
I am making a statement of fact.
Stand on the merit of your own argument. Come on.
No.
Yeah, if you believe your arguments are strong, still stand with it. No bad for you. I'm not calling on Mr. Morrison. I'm not calling on Mr. Morrison.
I am saying that what I'm giving you is an opinion that is referenced by a national newspaper.
Yeah, but you're using that as a validation of what you're saying. I mean,
yes.
You
I know
can't do that. So
where do you have information to the contrary, sir? And what is your source? What is your source that
I think we could accept the Amandala as a credible source on many issues.
All right, it's after 9, people. It's after 9. Once again, we're going to our close. Listen, we'll be here next week, same time, same place, right? People, enough love. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
One door is closed, many more is open. To the right hand, Jaja subway, Rasta no need no token. One door is closed, many more. And if that Jaja with the love,
I think they are already playing music. So.
Yeah, I think CY has. CY.
Yeah.
That boy want 2 minutes for close off.
All right, hold on.
Big game hunters, them they set them trap. But
not many everybody.
Help me keep the healing.
Gentlemen,
if I can start, Mr. Chair.
Quickly though, right?
The discussions have been very, very lively, and I think very informative. And I want to say that certainly the discussion on the diaspora, the discussion on the Guatemala issue, will not be concluded tonight. And I think that going forward, I am hoping that we can continue to be constructive on these issues.
All right, Mr. Brackett?
No?
Yes, sir. I just want to make a quotation here, section 27. A citizen of Belize by birth or descent who acquires the citizenship of any other country may, if the laws of the other country so permit, and at the person Belizean option, retain his citizenship of Belize. That's dual nationality. And if you retain your citizenship of Belize, I don't understand how the Constitution grants you that possibility to have a dual citizenship in America or any other part of the world and still retain your Belizean citizenship that you had prior to then. Derogates from your privilege to exercise your right, constitutional right, to run for public office.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Morrison?
I want to say I believe that citizens of Belize, whether they're living in the diaspora and whether they have taken up citizenship of another country, should have the right to elected office without renouncing their citizenship. And I know it's an issue because in other countries in the Caribbean, we have seen where people elected to parliament actually got it abstain. And I don't know if abstain is the right word, but got it overthrown that they should be in the parliament because of having dual citizenship. But I think we should bring that into our constitution that gives us that right.
All right. I disagree. I believe that the Belizeans abroad can contribute to the development of our country in many more ways other than just being a politician. We have no guarantee that them being a politician will be any better politician than the politicians we have. I think our problems are bigger than that. We need to look at better governance and not necessarily who is doing the governing. I think that the fact that you don't live here, but therefore I don't think that you should be able to be directing the policies as such by proxy. I really believe that the diaspora should be represented in some way, that they should have a seat for that diaspora, but let the diaspora elect from amongst themselves a representative to represent the diaspora, bearing in mind that they are still part and parcel to Belize. That is my point. We will certainly pick these up at another point. We'll go forward with these. Thanks again, guys, for your time. Thanks, folks who have been out there listening to us, for enduring the stress and the arguments and whatnot, and more than arguments sometimes. We get quarrelsome. We're going to try to curtail that and see what
nice
we could
program, Mr. Chairman.
To keep things in front of us, right? Gentlemen, have a nice evening. God bless. Respect everything.
God bless everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Sir.
Back.
Thank you.
Help me keep the heathens back. When one door is closed, many more is open. To the right hand, Jaja Subway Rasta no need no token. One door is closed, many more. And it's that Jaja with the love we heart will never be broken. One door is closed, many more is open. To the right hand, Jaja Subway Rasta no need no token. One door is closed, many more. And it's that Jaja with the love. We run up into enough obstacles, surprisingly from we own people. Them just hate to see the dread. We say pinnacle, them a hope and pray. Say we stumble, but we burning both ends of the scandal. Daily routine, read the Bible. Despite the effort of the devil, we have to reach Jaja's people. When one door is closed, many more is open. To the right hand, Jaja Subway Rasta no need no token. One door is closed, many more. And it's that Jaja with the love we heart will never be broken. One door is closed, many more is open. To the right hand, Jaja Subway Rasta no need no token. One door is closed, many more. And it's that Jaja with the love. Me one brother try to stab me in a me box. My girlfriend left me true, me never have no dollar in a stock. Best friend about the claim, the dread, the smoke. How the lyrics, where will they drop the walk? Big game hunters, them they set them trap. But we they pray to the Father non-stop. Help me keep the heathens back. Help me keep the heathens back. When one door is closed, many more is open. To the right hand, Jaja Subway Rasta no need no token. One door is closed, many more. And it's that Jaja with the love we heart will never be broken. One door is closed, many more is open. To the right hand, Jaja Subway Rasta no need no token. One door is closed, many more. And it's that Jaja with the love. Yeah. Oh, here we go. As we flow, as all evil. Right, yes or no? Vibes level. Everything plumb and bevel. Keep a close eye on the devil. Higher state of consciousness with the rebel. Papa Curry, here we go for tell the people. Let go. You have pounds and pence, dollars and cents. Most important sense, the common sense. But enough man dense, no know the difference. Fatal flaw, them have to pay the consequence. Pounds and pence, dollars and cents. Most important sense, the common sense. But enough man dense, no know the difference. Fatal flaw, them have to pay the consequence. Things in the grass greener, but the next side of the fence. For a few dollars more, they place them life in an achievement. They're robbing them brother, them sister, them friends, and them parents. Yet them still content. Fool no know what the dog when they got the bone for the shadow. For the rest of them life, make up them live with in a sorrow. No make me catch the beg the plea, the quality try and borrow. Me have for the check with you tomorrow. You have pounds and pence, dollars and cents. Most important sense, the common sense. But enough man dense, no know the difference. Fatal flaw, them have to pay the consequence. Pounds and pence, dollars and cents. Most important sense, the common sense. But enough man dense, no know the difference. Fatal flaw, them have to pay the consequence. You have $1 million and one day if you make $1 million. Bongo dead no need for the stand up on no street corner. Like a junko, like a vulture. They help Satan famous up my culture. Them claims in a God them trust me and the dread no. Feel them dollars run fossil. Aha, the judge are in the course. When fever let it in the house. You have pounds and pence, dollars and cents. Most important sense, the common sense. But enough man dense, no know the difference. Fatal flaw, them have to pay the consequence. Pounds and pence, dollars and cents. Most important sense, the common sense. But enough man dense, no know the difference. Fatal flaw, them have to pay the consequence. Pounds and pence, dollars and cents. Most important sense, the common sense. But enough man